Okay, okay. I'm not distracted. All right. We good? We ready?
I think you're good.
All right. My name's Rob and I'm a food addict. And I guess I'll start with a couple of numbers. My heaviest weight that's written down is 380 pounds. I'm sure that I was closer to 400, maybe a little bit over at one point. Today I weigh 180, give or take 5 pounds, and make adjustments to my food plan based on my weight if it goes up or down. And I'm happy to do that. I found OA in earnest on August 15th, 2017. So and I've been abstinent that time for a little over 6 years now. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the mess. I was I'm gonna see you guys. There we go. I was fixing myself with food for a long, long time. You know, it started early in my life, and you know, I took a detour with other substances and wound up in some 12-step fellowships before I found OA. And enjoyed long-term recovery in one of those fellowships, and had a very long relapse. I stayed in the program and abstinent from those substances for 18 years and relapsed. I speak about that just because coming back into that fellowship was extremely difficult to come back and be a newcomer after having been a sponsor and had lots of sponsees. And it was a difficult thing, and that in part keeps me where I am today. So when I got to a place with OA, man, I was introduced to OA around my 50th birthday on a cruise ship. And cruises are made for people who drink and people who eat. And I was sober at the time, and so I was eating. And I was eating first breakfast and second breakfast, and first lunch and second lunch, and first dinner and second dinner and midnight snack, pretty much around the clock. On that cruise ship. And we would go to a Friends of Bill meeting in the morning, and there was a woman who identified herself as a member of OA, and kind of sparked our interest, my wife and I. And when we got home, we got busy going to OA meetings. And I had a good bit of experience with 12 steps and sponsorship and recovery in that other fellowship. And when I went to the meetings here, I didn't hear a lot of talk about working from the big book and working. I didn't hear, people were coming to a 12-step fellowship, and we weren't talking about the steps, and we weren't talking about working with a sponsor, and we weren't talking about recovery as I knew it. And so I thought I was there to teach. and I laugh at myself there because I didn't know squat about the food. I didn't. I would leave. I'd go to a Saturday morning meeting, and I would leave that meeting at 10 a.m. and go to the buffet restaurant. And on about my fifth plate would be pounding on the table going, how the hell did I get here again? And I was in a position where in my recovery in the other fellowship, where my sponsor, when we would work steps, normally he would take his sponsees to a restaurant, and they would, get dinner or get lunch and have coffee and do the step work at a table. When he and I did step work, he made me take a walk. We'd do actually physical steps, and we never really had a meal together. And that's because that guy saw something going on that I wasn't able to see at that time. And I started praying about the issue with my weight and my appearance, and Um, Found OA along the way, and my wife got really involved in OA, and we one night got a call from somebody that needed a ride to a meeting, and we went and picked this woman up. And this woman that got in my truck to go to the meeting looked like she weighed about 90 pounds, and I I couldn't I couldn't identify with her physically. Like, here I was eating everything in sight till it was all gone, or until I was physically removed from the situation, or until I physically could not eat anymore. Um, and I did that every meal. I didn't know when one meal stopped and one meal began. I didn't know what time to eat. I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know how much to eat. I didn't care, right? Once I started, I could not stop. And I started first thing every day, and I didn't stop until I physically had to. And this woman got in my truck and she started talking about her abstinence, and she talked about some things that through my experience in the dieting world, because of course I tried every diet out there. I did Weight Watchers some, I did Atkins diet. When I was in my early 20s, I went to an Opti fast where we fasted for 12 weeks and we drank shakes, and I was real successful. I lost all the weight. I lost 112 pounds in 12 weeks. But as soon as I started putting food back in my mouth, I was off and running, and I gained all of that weight back plus some. But she started, and so I had a lot of experience about how diets work. It's pretty simple math. If you put less in than you burn, you lose weight, right? And I had success with some of those diets, and I went to the diet doctor where they gave you the speed pills, and that was successful too, because man, I had all kinds of energy. Didn't have time to eat. But as soon as I quit taking the pills, of course, I gained the weight back. Um, and what this woman started talking about when we picked her up for this meeting was weighing her food and measuring her food and eating 3 meals and nothing in between, and no sugar and no flour and no caffeine. And I was pretty sick at the time, and I heard that, and in my gut and in my soul, I knew that was the answer for me. But I got sicker because it scared me, right? I was working a job where I was out of town 5 days a week or 6 days a week. I had an expense account. I got to eat out every single night, and eat out lunch every day, and eat the hotel breakfast. And my sponsor in my other fellowship had me, exercising every day as part of my as my recovery there. So I'd probably dropped 40 or 50 pounds just from taking a walk every day and not changing anything else. But there was a point in time there when, about the time that I'd met this woman, that I was walking further and more often than I ever had, but I was also eating more than I ever had. So I was gaining weight, and I was really, really miserable. I'd go out to dinner with the work crew, and we'd go our separate ways after dinner, and I'd sneak off to the store and buy my bags of goodies and whatever else I needed, and go to the hotel room and eat myself into a stupor and pass out. And I got to a place where I was desperate, and I didn't know what to do. And I called my sponsor in the other fellowship, and he and I had conversation around OA and around this woman that rode with us to a meeting that night. And he said, "Rob, have you been praying about this?" And I said, I have. Of course I have." And he said, "Well, God put the answer in your truck not too long ago, and you told him no. No wonder you're miserable." And that kind of struck home, and I knew what to do. I reached out to this woman the next day, and she gave me some phone numbers of some men in this fellowship, and I called one of them, and he agreed to be my sponsor. And I talked to him. I had like a 7-hour road trip that Sunday night on the way back to work, and I talked to him for a good bit of that road trip, and he told me what I needed to do and what kind of foods to eat and how much to eat. And I was so desperate and so miserable that I was willing to do whatever he said to do. And that was on August 16th, right, of 2017. So on August 15th, I pulled into that town. That was August 14th that I spoke with him. So on August 15th, when I got into that town that night, I went to the store, I bought a scale, I bought food that was on the program. I went to my hotel room and I learned to weigh and measure my meals and eat 3 meals and nothing in between in a hotel room with a microwave and a mini fridge. And that served me well learning that way. That served me well down the road. But the thing that I learned working with him is we went through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line and page by page over the phone. Now, I had done that with a sponsor in the other fellowship, but we did this over the phone because he lived half the country away, this guy that sponsored me. And what I learned was that I was suffering from a 3-part illness, right? I had a spiritual malady. I had the mental obsession with the food, and I had an allergic reaction when I put certain foods in my body that triggered the phenomenon of craving, right? And so, when I put certain foods in my body, I'm off and running. And I didn't see that until I got away from those foods for a while. But I know now why, years ago, I would eat my salty stuff and my sweet stuff and go to bed and wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then go stand in front of the refrigerator in my underwear looking for something else. What I was looking for was my higher power and that sense of ease and comfort, that I got once I took a few sweet, sugary, or salty bites, or savory or whatever it was. I through working the steps and with that sponsor and staying away from those foods, completely abstinent from sugar, flour, caffeine, and quantity, because I'm a quantity junkie too, and I found freedom from that. I don't obsess over it anymore. I know I said it. I was in a place where I ate until I was unable to. Period. I physically removed or physically unable to, and I'm no longer there. And I've released all this weight, and I've found this relationship with a higher power that keeps me sane around the food and around a lot of other things in my life. I'll share a little bit about early on, man. The way I eat is very disciplined, right? It's very, very disciplined. But through that discipline, man, I find a lot of freedom, right? I got a lot of freedom. I can do all kinds of shit today I couldn't do 7 years ago. I can fit in the airplane seat. I can sit on the roller coaster and the seat belt buckles and the harness goes down. I can ride my bike. I can run. I can swim. I can bend over and tie my shoes. I can sit in a chair and not worry about it breaking, right? I can walk in a department store and buy a shirt off the rack, right? A lot of great things happen around that. But getting to this place, those first 30 days of doing the way I do were miserable, man. It was hard. It was harder than kicking the alcohol and the drugs. It was. I went into physical DTs. I had days where I had to go back to my hotel, couldn't work, and pull my covers up over my head because I couldn't function. And but I got through it, right? And now, it's like I was drinking gallons and gallons of caffeinated beverages every day. And today I don't use any, and I have more energy than I've ever had. I don't know how to describe the freedom that I have. That stuff, that was hard, man. So getting abstinent for me was very, very difficult. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fun. It forced me to my knees. It forced me on my knees to pray to my higher power. It forced me to call my sponsor multiple times a day. It forced me to work these tools. The food drove me to a level with my connection with my higher power that I've never experienced before.
Maybe you have 5 minutes left.
Thank you. And I'm here though. Once I got through those first 30 days or so, I'm in a place today where it's really easy, right? Getting abstinent was hard, right? Staying abstinent is a pleasure, right? And it's pretty dang easy. It takes slight persistent effort today for me to be abstinent. I just have to maintain fit spiritual condition, right? And that requires daily prayer and meditation. It requires contact with newcomers. It requires working with others, trying to give away what I have. And it requires surrendering my food to my higher power every single day. But those are really simple things. Those are simple things and they're easy to do today. A couple of things that stick out in my mind that were kind of funny is one of the breakfasts that I was eating in the very beginning was just non-fat yogurt and fruit, right? And a tiny bit of like dried oats. And I hated the way that yogurt tasted. I hated the way yogurt tasted. And I remember sitting in that hotel and my sponsor kept saying to me over and over again, this way of eating is a miracle. This way of eating is a miracle. And I looked myself in the mirror when I was taking a spoonful of that yogurt. And I said, God, if this is a miracle, it tastes like shit. But I kept eating it, and today when I have yogurt, I look forward to it. I know that's really weird, but it's like I was able to be honest with my higher power about how I felt and honest with a sponsor. And today I'm living the spiritual principles of a 12-step program in all areas of my life, and I have an honest relationship with my wife, and I have an honest relationship with my boss, and I have honest relationships with my kids, and I'm not sneaking and hiding and sweeping crumbs out of the bed in the middle of the night so nobody knows I ate laying in the bed. I'm not staring in the refrigerator at 2 a.m. looking for my higher power anymore. I'm trying to carry this message. That's my primary purpose, and my other purpose is to practice these principles in all my affairs. And what an order, but I'm not perfect, but I'm making progress every day. And it's a joy to be here and to be able to share my story. I tried to put my number in on my name and it won't let me rename it. I tried to type my number in the chat and I'm unable to use the chat for some reason. I'm blocked from that. So I'm going to leave you my phone number here. It's area code 843-729-5327. That's Eastern time. I've got WhatsApp. Text work great. If we're not familiar with each other, if you text me first, I'll be sure to try to answer the phone. If not, and you call, just leave a message and I'll call back 24/7. I am available to sponsor. I love what I have and I love to give it away. And you guys taught me how to live, and I'll never, ever forget that. And I'll always be grateful to all of you for teaching me how to live and how to be a decent human being, right? Instead of a lying, cheating son of a bitch. And that's all I got, man. I hope you guys invite me back sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And you said you're currently open to sponsoring new people, is that right?
Yes, I'm available to sponsor.
And would you like to give us a suggested topic to share on tonight?
How about willingness. What are you willing to do to be abstinent today?
All right, thank you again, Rob. You can listen to an audio recording of this share later this week on the YouTube channel, Men's Sunday Night OA Zoom Meeting. You can also hear tonight's speaker on most popular podcasts. I'll put this information in the chat. Announcements. Are there any OA related announcements such as retreats or opportunities for service in your area? If so, unmute yourself and let us know.
Roger, compulsive reader. Just so you know, we did re-enable your ability to rename yourself and type in the chat. That's back on. We had to turn it off because of the Zoom bombers. We need someone who's willing to schedule speakers. Need someone for that. Otherwise, every 4 weeks we will not have a speaker. So I'll be glad to train you in that. It's easy, just one speaker a month, and we already have a list of them. So it's mainly just contact, making sure that they're willing. If you willing to do that, just give me a call. You can see my number there. Window. Thanks.
Thank you, Roger. Any other announcements? Would our business meeting leader please tell us a quick summary of what issues and/or elections we will vote on in our next business meeting?
Tom isn't here.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Absence and/or recovery milestones. We celebrate recovery by recognizing our absence and/or recovery milestones. If you have recently reached absence of 1, 2, 3, 6, or 9 months, or reached a yearly milestone, please unmute and tell us your name and milestone. Sponsors. Sponsorship is one of our keys to success. Sponsors are OA members committed to abstinence and to living the 12 steps and 12 traditions to the best of their ability. If you are an available sponsor or are willing to help someone get started in the program, please unmute to talk and tell us your name and phone number and type it in the chat window.
Reggie, I think Robert has something to say.
Okay.
Um,
Go ahead, Robert.
I didn't want. I'm not available to sponsor, but I have a month away from a month abstinence. Thank you.
Congratulations, Robert. Thank you. Literature. Only OA approved literature is discussed at this meeting. Many OA members find that reading our literature on a daily basis further reinforces how to live the 12 steps. You can purchase literature at the OA.org bookstore. Email list and phone outreach list. We have an email list that we use to send our business meeting minutes. We also have a phone outreach list that we use to call each other. To get on one or both lists, tell me at the end of the meeting or type your name and email in the chat window. Seventh tradition. Our seventh tradition tells us we must be fully self-supporting through our own contributions. At this time, the meeting's only expense is Zoom, but we encourage you to make regular donations to our meeting. Please donate whatever amount you are comfortable with by using Venmo to send it to our treasurer. He will put how in the chat window. We will pass it along to support the virtual intergroup of OA, which our meeting is a member of, the OA Virtual Region and WSO. You can make your own donations at oavirtualintergroup.org, OA Virtual Region at oavirtualregion.org, or WSO at oa.org. Please specify our meeting number 89652. Sharing. It is now time for sharing. Everyone is welcome to share, especially if you are new to the meeting or don't often share. We ask that you keep your shares to 3 minutes so that others have time to share. Our timer, Roger, will give you a buzzer warning 30 seconds before the time limit. Please limit your comments to how you use the program to live with the disease of compulsive overeating, rather than just the events of the day. We refrain from crosstalk, which is giving advice to others who have already shared, speaking directly to another person rather than the group, and questioning or interrupting the person speaking or sharing at the time. You can optionally give your phone number verbally and or in the chat window. You can just introduce yourself if that is all you wish to say. To speak, if you have the new Zoom app, click the reactions icon, then raise your hand. If you have the old Zoom app, please click the participants icon, then the raise hand icon. To speak, if you are on a phone call, press *9. This will eliminate multiple people trying to speak at the same time. Our Zoom co-host will call on men in the order they've raised their hand. The suggested topic by our speaker is willingness. And who would like to be the first one to share? Click raise your hand icon or press *9.
Just a reminder that Tom will be our co-host tonight. So Tom, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can call on the, Tom's doing a great job. I'm training him how to be a co-host. So take it away.
Okay, let's see now. I go down to participants.
Yeah, or you can just look up there in the gallery and you can see, for example, that Nicholas and Joel have their hand raised up there. It's also under participants, yes.
Right. Okay, it looks like Nicholas is our first sharer, followed by Joel.
Thanks, Tom. And thanks, Rob, for that, for the lead. I've been coming to meetings for a couple days. I think this is actually my 4th day going to meetings, but it's only my 3rd day that I've been able to eat in a way that feels safe. Glad to be here. I've been sober for years in another program, and it was, I found myself, in sobriety in a place that was not unlike the feelings and the dynamic of what brought me into that program in the first place, which was, the waking up with shame and, scrambling for a plan. I had to have a new plan. This is how I was going to figure this out. How I was going to change my eating. And, I'd gotten to the point where, I couldn't really last more than 2 meals before I was off of that plan. And, making deals with myself. Well, I'm going to switch to this other plan. Maybe I'll fast tomorrow, or, I'll figure something out. And so it was constant. And, I was just struggling, wondering why I couldn't get to a place before, like I've been, where I could be in control, and trying desperately to get back there. So, thank you very much. I'm very new to this, but the desperation and the feelings before, what it was like and what happened, I can relate to all that. And that definitely translates across, these 12-step programs. And so does the hope, when you talk about what it's like now, and I can hear that too. And I know I'm in the right place, just coming to meetings and every day, has got me to a place where I haven't binged. I haven't, done, I've been able to eat, safe foods, and but I also have been around long enough to know that meeting makers don't make it if they don't do more, and I know that the steps is what changed my life, because I've been, in other programs, absolutely sober, going to meetings every day. And I've been very dry. And so I know what it's like to be a meeting maker that doesn't work the steps. And that's a terrible place to be. So I'd like to get to work. I'm looking for a sponsor, and I've been reading the book, and so really grateful for you guys for being here. It's amazing, the fact that I've had 3 days that I haven't fallen into, the overeating. It's just amazing to me because I just couldn't get past more than a couple meals. So much gratitude for the way that this deal works. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Nicholas. And if you'd like to list your phone number, that'll help people know how to get hold of you. Okay, Joel, you're up, and we don't have any other hands up. So go ahead, Joel.
Hi, I'm a compulsive overeater. First, I want to thank Rob for a wonderful qualifier. A lot of good information there, and I definitely listened to your recording to update me on some aspects. Willingness. I would have to say that this is my second round coming to OA. The first time I did it about 5 years ago, and it was a face-to-face small group. And I didn't have the desire. I hadn't hit rock bottom. And about a year and 2 months ago, the doctor gave me the bad news that I would possibly suffer from a stroke, a heart attack, a kidney failure, or something's medically not good. So my willpower was much stronger when I came in last October. And through Zoom, I was able to attend a lot of the specialized meetings, especially after discovering that there was a track for body image and relationships. And I came to realize that the step studies really helped me deal with my emotions, because I was eating excessively due to emotion to try to gap that feel good type of element. And by virtue of doing that study and interacting with other like-minded people, I came to realize that I'm not alone, that there's a community out there, and I could depend on higher power to guide me and give me strength. But the strength doesn't come right away, because we do have to fall a few times. Just like when my son and my daughter started to crawl, and then they started to walk with holding a hand. It's a process. So likewise, we have a process of learning new habits. And each one of us are gonna get these processes down in different breadths and different dimensions, because our willingness to let go of our past is not the same. We don't have the same chemistry. Some things come easy, others come hard. So we need to recognize that what is common is that we all have a compulsive habit that we're trying to overcome, and it's something that we cannot just completely remove, but we can improve and manage it when it tries to take control. So our willingness to be able to learn new things,
That's 3 minutes, Joel.
much more viable when we are around like-minded people. Back to you.
Thanks, Joel. There are no other hands up that I see right now. Let me check again. No other hands up. So feel free to speak up.
I'll
Go ahead,
just speak up. Okay, thank you. Good evening, guys. Rob, thanks a lot. I wanted to hear where you were from. Maybe you can put that in the chat, just out of curiosity, Midwest or, anyway. I liked some of the things you said, you know, with the focus on, I think, the 12 steps as it's written in the text of Alcoholics Anonymous. I think for myself, I haven't tried other methods, and I've heard a lot of times in the years in program that, you know, it doesn't matter how you do it, you know, just do it. Well, I can say one thing, that we are guaranteed a result that's going to give us recovery if we do the 12 steps as written in the big book in earnest to the best of our ability. And you know, with that said, I heard some things tonight that I'd like to, you know, just repeat. You know, we talk about the spiritual malady, and I think Rob gave a very good definition, which you don't hear too much in OA, in which I have the same definition, in that, you know, we talk about the allergy, you know, when, you know, the allergy for food is, you know, like flour, sugar, or whatever the contents are. And, you know, it's very simple. An allergy is when we have as a compulsive overeater, I have an abnormal reaction to certain substances, certain foods. You know, for me, it's lots of things, but most of them consist of flour and sugar base. And the abnormal reaction is that we're normal people. The abnormal reaction is that once I have some of it, I can't stop. And over the years, I learned that some of those things I can't stop eating are not things that are really good for me to be eating. They're bad for me. They cause me to eat late at night. They cause me to have pains in my stomach from eating so much of them. They cause me to feel guilt and shame. You know, all those things. That's the abnormal reaction. And you know, so when we talk about what are we going to do today, the question posed was, what are we going to do today? You know, what lengths are we willing to go to? And I would, you know, for me, be in abstinence for a good amount of time. I'm going to continue what I did yesterday, and what I've done so far today is what I'm going to continue to do tomorrow. And that's not asking for a lot, because, you know I can do it. You know, when I first started, I didn't know I was going to do it, but how I started doing it was I just started doing it. And it wasn't that I started. I was capable. I found the power to start doing. It was a combination of, it was just a perfect storm for me of a guy come up to me and he stuck his hand out and he said, my name's Don, and I'm willing to help you. Here's my phone number, and start calling me tomorrow. Because I never would have asked a guy to be a sponsor. I don't think I ever would have done it. But you know, so that's step one, and I'm sure you'll hear more from me at some point in time. But with that, I'll pass. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Next up is Jack Daniel, and there's nobody after him. Go ahead, Jack.
Thanks. I'm Jack, a compulsive eater. And Rob, thank you for your share. You know, when you talk about eating the yogurt and, you know, looking in the mirror at yourself eating the yogurt, and you're saying to your higher power, you know, if this is a miracle, it sucks. You know, really, that's the main thing. When I came back to the program at the beginning of this year, that was the main thing I had to really pray for, was willingness, because I knew it was going to be painful. You know, I knew that, having been in OA for a few years prior to that, I knew that whatever I'd have to do was going to be uncomfortable. It was, you know, there was going to be resistance involved and everything else. And I just really asked my higher power to help me to be willing to be uncomfortable. You know, that, you know, I had to be willing to sit with the discomfort a lot of the times, because it really meant being willing, you know, because I was at a point when I came back this time that at my age and everything, I just said, how long are you willing to fight this battle? Do you want to continue to fight this battle the rest of your life? And that's when I knew that, you know, I had to really be sincere and willing to do it. And, you know, I don't always want to do the things I have to do. I didn't want to come to this meeting tonight, but I came, you know, that's, you know, I don't always come lovingly to meetings. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I do what I have to do because I know what the consequences are. You know, consequences can be either good or bad. It depends on, you know, what your actions are. And oftentimes the recovery can feel really almost worse than the the injury, so to speak. But you know, it's worth it. The thing that keeps me coming back, I like what you talked about, you know, your physical recovery and how you're able to do all the things you're able to do, because that's the same with me. But also too, when you talked about it being a three-legged stool, there's the spiritual recovery and the emotional recovery that I have today that is equally, I'm very grateful for. I think it just it makes me more comfortable in my own skin and more pleasant to be around, and that's what keeps me coming back too. I know it's more than just not picking up the foods. It's more about the recovery and growth. And like someone said earlier, we all do it differently. You know, the willingness comes to each of us differently, and we go at our own pace and that of our higher power. But the thing is I just pray for the willingness. Every day I ask my higher power, along with keeping me abstinent, to please
30
grant me
seconds.
to do my part. Thanks, I heard that. So I just want to check in and say thanks again. It was good hearing you, and I'll pass.
Thanks, Jack. There are no hands up, so feel free to jump in and share about willingness or whatever you need to. Oh, there's Roger. Go ahead, Roger.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Hey, everybody, great to have you tonight, despite the crazy Zoom bombing, which seems to be happening on lots of meetings lately. So we'll get this thing down. Anyway, yeah, I really appreciate your share tonight, Brett. I got a lot out of it. I really, and again, I love that yogurt equivalent too. And that made me think of the things that I refused before to be used to. I didn't like, how could I, you know, not eat sugar a lot? I would die if I had to give up my precious sugar. Or how could I not go, you know, to those all-you-can-eat buffets and get my money's worth? Of the phrase I used to use, money's worth, or dive in at Thanksgiving, you know, rationalizing everybody else is doing it. I mean, just insanity. And I did get used to it. It takes a while. I was thinking about all the good habits I have, being able to, you know, even on a rainy, cold morning, I still will get up for work, right? Because I know what'll happen if I don't. I don't like going to the dentist at all, but I go to the dentist because I know what'll happen if I don't. Just thing after thing. And I think you guys will all agree is we have developed very good habits, or we'd be homeless or in prison or something. We've done a lot right, you know, to come as far as we have. And I had to accept that there were things beyond that I needed to work on, that character defects to deal with. The most being the grand question of why am I willing to commit suicide with food? Slow, painful suicide. What's up with that? You know, I couldn't believe when my doctor said, well, you're so overweight and you clogged your heart up, you don't have that much longer to live. I was 43 at the time. I mean, wow. It just blew my mind that I could cause something to my body that kill me at that young an age. And it wasn't easy getting started, especially, you know, I know alcoholics, they've described to me what it's like in the drunk tank, you know, going through that, but they come out of it, you know, sober. They can think clearly once they've been forced to alcohol out of their system.